taken.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
We very rarely have guests, so it's nice to at least have a guest. I wanted to, before Austin comes on, I do want to give the story of how I actually met Austin for the first time. I was running for office. It was 2010. I went to New York to go tape Freedom Watch. Now, this is a show that never actually aired. Not Austin's fault, by the way, but it just never aired.
It's all Austin's fault.
No, it's not Austin's fault. No, it's not Austin's fault.
You left the stage and he's like, we can't put this guy on the air.
No, hold on. After he watched the interview, he might have said that. But yeah, I'm sure he didn't say that beforehand. But at any rate, though, so he was the producer of Freedom Watch at the time. I mean, this was before Freedom Watch was actually even official. And so I was there in the studio. I got to interview with Napolitano. But Austin, as being a producer, kind of walked me over there, and I asked for any advice. And he said, "Look, be memorable. Go out there, give it your all, and a little bit motivational speech. It was better than talking to Stossel up there. I can tell you that right now. Damn better than talking to Stossel. But that's the first time I ever met Austin Petersen. So now Austin Petersen is now running for president of the United States as a Libertarian candidate, and I thought that it would be good to do an interview with Austin, and he very graciously had agreed to come on to do an interview. So first off, thank you very much, Austin. We do appreciate you coming on, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. This one's live, so you can't can me.
That's a good point. And the production value of Freedom Watch is a tad bit bigger than well, not anymore, but at the time it was a tad bit bigger than the production value that we have. So it's nice to have you on. And I got questions.
Thanks for having me on.
And we have a bunch of questions that people have come in with, but I actually have way different questions than what they have. So the first question that I was going to ask you is, can you just tell us a little bit, for people who don't know who you are, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a 9-year political veteran of the Libertarian movement. I got involved when I volunteered for Ron Paul in 2007. I was in New York City, and I had great success organizing for Dr. Paul's campaign, which allowed me to secure a job at the Libertarian Party in Washington, D.C. in 2008. I was working behind the scenes there. I was doing a lot of stuff to grow the party, to build membership, and we had tremendous success in adding new members when I was there with an internship program that we had. And then after that, I managed to put together a secret project that was to help the judge get his own show. And after a little bit of work in D.C. for a couple of years, I also managed to get Judge Napolitano's own show on Fox, and so I was given a job to go back to New York City and work for the judge and write for him and produce for him, which was a tremendous honor. And after the show was canceled, I moved to Washington, D.C. again to sort of get back into politics and keep spreading the liberty message. I worked for a Tea Party group called Freedom Works for a while. And finally, I was just I said to myself, well, I've seen so many people run so many institutions into the ground, and so many, nonprofits, and so many mistakes being made by my leadership in so many ways. Well, I'm going to run my own institution into the ground. So I started up my own for-profit LLC, and I've been doing political consulting and publishing a news magazine called the Libertarian Republic ever since, and it's been tremendous. So here's where I am today.
Now, in making a decision to go from, running something that's an online publication where you do a podcast on the show and things like that, to going into president is a jump. I mean, I'm sure you would agree with that. What was the things that caused you to make this decision to get in to decide to get into the Libertarian presidential race, for lack of a better term?
You ever had somebody just throw something at you and you just kind of instinctively catch it? That's sort of like how it felt, So it's sort of like watching a tower fall and watching something fall, and you instinctively run up to catch it. That was sort of the instinct on this one, where I've built this, a small fan base online. I'm sure it's nowhere near as big as your fan base, Alex. But
I appreciate.
I built a small fan base. And these people, they threw it out at me, and we were all feeling desperate because of the rise of Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. And so we were talking about the Libertarian race, and everybody was talking about Johnson, and there just wasn't a lot of fire in the belly for Johnson. And so I saw how down people were, and it felt like people were going to sit this election out rather than go to the polls and pull a lever for a Libertarian, because there just wasn't anybody who was going to inspire them to do so. So as soon as I announced Alex, people just were galvanized. It was like electricity through the movement, and people were like, all of a sudden, where nobody was talking about the LP nomination, I think that's what you guys said on your last show, nobody was talking about it. Now everybody's talking about it because it's a race.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to give people something to vote for, something to care about, because we need to make hay while the sun shines. These are good political years, and the liberty movement needs to grow. We can't just be sitting around, with another boring candidate, that we trot out again every 4 years. Then we do the same thing and expect different results. Because of my background and because of the way that I innovate, I think that I can provide something new to this race, not just a new voice and oh gosh, it's always Austin Petersen, but I have a track record of success. And so I think that if I were to be given this platform from the Libertarian nomination, it would lift up not only me, but a generation of young libertarians that are behind me that I could then lift up and to raise up their voices as well, which is what I've always been about doing, is raising up libertarian voices. And so now I've come to seek the torch so that I can carry it into that November election.
Okay. Now, I think the next question I want to ask actually is the platform question. I'm thinking in my head here of all the different questions that I had and the order in which I was going down them. Mm-hmm. Now, in going and and it's nice, in going and running for the office, you have listed a platform that has 11 things on it, and I thought that it's a very unique and what I would call to be a kind of a practical application of the ideology to how to solve where we're currently at right now, is where I thought it was at. Can you tell a little bit about how you kind of came up with the different parts of the platform and why you chose what you chose?
Sure. So why I chose what I chose, this is an initial platform, and there will be some additions and some changes and some rewording of the language, because right now I have a small think tank of scholars, economic experts, people from George Mason, defense experts, former spies, people in the intelligence community who are going to be going through this and helping me put together a real legal platform, a real transitionary plan. But my initial platform, the one that you've seen, is a basic statement of principles that I think are libertarian principles, and this is meant to strike up a conversation about some of these issues that I think are being ignored, and also to give the American people an idea for my ideology. And a lot of these platform planks are aiming high, but when it comes to strategy, when it comes to diplomacy, when it comes to negotiations, you always have to ask for more than you think you can get. So I plan on asking for quite a lot and hoping that we might be able to get a few of these platform planks passed through. Now, there's lots of ways to win, Alex. There's lots of types of victories that you can win when you run for president. It's not just about winning the White House. That's the main goal. But another victory that you can win is ballot access. If the presidential candidate can get a high enough vote total, then you can get automatic ballot access for libertarian candidates in a number of states. And another victory that you can win is that if you can, pull away enough support that maybe one of the other two major candidates can try and pander to your voters by taking on your platform planks as well. So what I'm doing is trying to win, fighting a main war and trying to win certain key battles along the way. So the platform is meant to not only inspire and educate, but also to act as an adjutant to the main parties and to sort of to pressure them into accepting reforms that I think could be popular and would be good for the American people.
Okay. Now, the next question I have actually kind of goes towards, in running for president as a libertarian, there's two different schools of thought that I've noticed within the party. The first school of thought is one of, you're running for office. That's the office that you're running for. You're doing it for a specific amount of time. You do it. You're in. You're out. You're done. And we have witnessed some candidates that have come and then left, and then come and then left. That were not necessarily, were a part of it, but then weren't a part of it, but then came back. Well, not Bob Barr. You can't even put him in that category. That's a whole different category. But I think that what Gary did, though, is that Gary did try to be helpful with the party afterwards. And I think one of the reasons is because you realize that the big hill that this is to climb, that, running for office as a president right now as a libertarian, it makes a lot of sense because for ballot access reason alone, like you said, you do need someone to be on the top of the ticket. But with that being said, is that in my opinion, there is another school of thought to this, that it does lend itself to helping grow so that the next person that runs has a greater shot of being able to win. When you hear something like that, or I guess maybe the better question, which would be just to kind of ask it this way, do you feel that running for office as a libertarian, that part of your job is to promote the party and to recruit more people into the party? And I think you kind of answered this question already, but I just wanted to ask it specifically just to kind of make sure that we're on the same page with it. So do you feel that this is something that's your job?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I have to, because you have to understand that I'm the underdog in this race. Gary Johnson is the establishment insider. He's the guy who's already got all the support and who has been a governor and who has access to probably bigger pocketbooks than I might have, at least at this point in the race. And in order for me to beat Gary Johnson, I have to get delegates. I literally have to grow the party in order for me to win, because there are some people who voted for Gary Johnson last time who aren't going to change their vote for what they're going to see as some snot-nosed kid. So I've got to go out and find a couple hundred snot-nosed kids like me to come and to vote for me at the party, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But here's another thing to think about, and you've known me for a while. Like I said, I'm a 9-year political veteran, but I didn't go away in the off years, when there wasn't a presidential campaign. I'm not going to go away in the future, My website, my livelihood is the Libertarian Republic. I'm tied up in this. So what this actually would do is that not only am I going to be growing the party, but if the Libertarian Party nominates me as a presidential candidate, it would empower me for years to come. And I don't want to talk down to Gary, because I've got great respect and admiration for the man, but he's old, and how long is he going to be around doing activism? If you empower me, a young activist with a proven track record, who has always been there and will be there for years, you're going to empower the army of young people that are behind me as well. So not only am I growing the Libertarian Party, like your question was formulated, but I'm also going to be empowered to grow the movement on the long term, because this will give me a national stage with which to argue these ideas. And I have big plans, Alex, big plans for liberty. And this is not just another laurel, on my wreath. This is the wreath. This is a national movement of people saying, here is someone who's a credible spokesman in America. We think that he has the right ideas and can bring change. And even if they don't decide to make me their president, at the very minimum, I will have kicked the door down into the halls of power, and I will speak truth to power. So again, my whole future is ahead of me. All my best years are to come. And for my opponents, theirs are in the past. And so giving me this nomination is is a victory for not just the Libertarian Party, but for the millennial libertarian movement that I think right now is they're underutilized, and they're bored as hell. But I'm going to get them stirred up and fired up and get them out in the streets, because I learned when I worked at the Libertarian Party the tactics that win elections. So I will use the tactics of grassroots activism and all my experience as a producer at Fox with the media to maximize the potential that we have. And so, yes, I think that there's lots of little victories to be won, but there's some big victories that can be won as well. And again, like I said, I represent the future.
I got you.
And I think that's what this election should be about.
Oh, no. I have to agree with you there as well. Now, the next question I have is, when it comes to the Libertarian Party and the Liberty Movement, I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive, is that there are people all within the movement that have different ideas, tactics, as it were, as to which way you should move. Where there's some people that say, hey, we should do it and build the Libertarian Party. There's people that say we should influence and take over the GOP. There's some people that say you should do both, and people choose what they want to do. There's a lot of different ways in which people go about this. Now, and if I say something that's incorrect here, please correct me. I think at one point you were very much in the camp of, I think we should, because I'm working for the Libertarian Party, so we should do it through the Libertarian Party. At the time frame, you did have an exit, and at the time frame, I think that maybe you looked at having probably a different tactic, and now it looks to me as if you are coming back to a tactic back to an idea that you had before. Could you, for people that would have the question as to where you kind of are at when it comes to how people should kind of move forward in advancing the message, was your mind changed at one point of somebody like Rand doing it, or was it we need to build the LP, and I'm seeing what's going on in the GOP, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing there, so I think we should have a third party to go out and do this with. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And was there a mind change kind of that you had?
Sure. No, the thing is that the problem is, I think here, Alex, is that too many people engage in black and white thinking. It's got to be either or. And I actually think that I've always believed that we need a multi-pronged strategy. And first of all, let me just say that, if you're in the business of trying to tell libertarians what to do, you're in trouble, buddy, because they are not going to do what you say. So you have to persuade and convince libertarians that you have the right strategy. But a grand strategy, Alex, a big grand strategy for liberty will require people to engage in all of these tactics. And even though we're spread thin, and that does kind of harm us, I think that a multi-pronged strategy for liberty is what's best. It's just not that I've ever changed my mind. I've always believed that we needed a strong third-party presence, because third parties perform an important function as a check and balance on the power of the two parties. I wish that we had a stronger check and balance on those two parties, but that's what I'm working for now. But just because I'm a member of a certain political party, it doesn't mean that I can't like or think that another member of a different party isn't good. When I was working at Fox, we would have Dennis Kucinich on the show all the time, and we'd have him and Ron Paul right next to each other. Now, there's two men who barely agree on anything, but we found the few issues that they would agree on. And so in order for us to advance the liberty movement, Alex, we're going to have people doing all sorts of different things. And it's it's frustrating for when I see people say, oh, well, that's not going to work. I'm an anarchist and I don't vote, and you should do that as well, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like, well, let's not denigrate what everybody's strategies are, because we need a little bit of everybody doing everything. And that's really how we're going to win. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this properly, but I think some people say, well, you're a libertarian, you can't like Rand Paul. Don't you say nice things about Rand Paul, even if he does another filibuster and smashes the status. You can't say that. That's the same mentality that we're always fighting against. And Alex, I'll be darned if I haven't found some power, they wouldn't make pretty damn tyrants themselves.
Oh yeah.
Maybe so the mindset of the tyrant isn't exclusive to there are actually a lot of people in the libertarian movement, a lot of white nationalists and things like that wanted to see libertarians win because they thought it was going to further their own evil schemes. So we've got to watch out for that. We can have a conversation about that if you like. But the truth is that, Alex, we've got to have people at different levels doing different things. And right now, I think the best strategy for me and for my people to work on is to grow the Libertarian Party and to hold the knife to the throat of the Republican and Democratic parties and demand reform. I think we ought to be pushing for an Article 5 constitutional convention. And so there's to me, the black and white thinking is really what the problem is here. We need shades of gray.
Yeah, no, and I understand. Now, and only because you brought it, only because you did bring this part of it up, so I do want to make a little bit of a response to this. There are people that have the ideological disagreement with Rand, but there is a different disagreement, and I think it is one more of a tactical one, which will lend myself to the next question, because one of the problems that I actually have with Rand doesn't have as much to do with how he went about doing the message. It was how they actually organized, or the lack thereof. And that I think that, if you are sitting on a lead a year ago and you don't put the boots on the ground that you need to do and don't organize the base for the people that do support him that they needed to do, I think that's why he got into the trouble that he was in and allowed for the rise of Trump, even though I don't know if anything he would have done would have stopped that. But I think that if he would have been able to keep a 10% or a 15%er going in there by mobilizing the people on the ground, I think he would have end up doing a lot better. But that actually lends myself to the next question that I had for you is that what is, as far as you're concerned, the nuts and bolt plan? Like, let's say we go through the whole thing, we go through the nominating process in May, you win the nomination in May, you're going to be the Libertarian candidate for president. What is your plan to get engage the boots on the ground and really get those people engaged in the type of or what type of activism do you think that that you want them to do? And I guess let me offer a couple different ways to go about it. You can have one that's really heavy on social media. You can have one that goes back to basics and that's ground and pound and door to door. You can have a combination thereof. You're right. It's not black and white. But what's your plan after the convention moving forward to get as many votes as possible?
So I actually can't give you a full plan right away. One, because I don't want to give away my tactics, and because my campaign manager would kill me, and two, because we're still working on it. But right now, all I can say is that what we're going to do is we're going to be targeting the states where we historically have had the maximum impact, in which the areas that we've seen historically that the Libertarian Party has had good voter turnout. And we're going to identify key activists in those regions and assign them tasks, basic civic activism tasks. And the basic civic activism is just, democracy. Some of the tactics that we're going to be using are unconventional and have been used by leftist movements in the past. And we're going to be taking them straight out of Saul Alinsky's playbook. But of course, those are the kind of tasks that are done by night. So we're going to be engaging in every single sphere that we can in order to give us the maximum amount of leverage. And we'll have visibly we'll have a two-pronged strategy. We'll have a media strategy because that's where we're good, and we'll also have a grassroots strategy. And I'm going to be using the tactics that I learned at the Leadership Institute and at the Libertarian Party, as well as Atlas. I did actually work for an international think tank as well, so I'm very good at logistics and coordination, and I'm going to be using those skills to do the basic techniques of democracy. It's just simply getting out the vote. And, Libertarians, we tend to be a philosophical think club, and we don't spend a whole lot of time doing the hard work that is the boots on the ground, door-to-door campaigning that I think we really need in order to convince our families, friends, churches, neighbors, our institutions in our communities to get out the vote. And also, just from a psychological perspective, Alex, we have to educate the American people on why a vote for a third party is not a wasted vote. And I can make that case pretty simply if you just explain to people that if you want generational change, not just change overnight, or not just about the selection, if you really care about the future of America, like everybody says, I care about the future of America, a vote for a third-party candidate, like especially a Libertarian Party candidate, is a vote for generational change. Because if I don't win the presidency this time, I'll be back in 4 years with 1,000 of my friends in the states where I now have ballot access. Because this year we won 3% or 5% of the vote, and now we've got ballot access in several more states. So there has to be an educational aspect of this. There has to be a boots on the ground aspect of this. There has to be a media aspect of this, and there has to be a cloak and dagger aspect of this. You know, we've got. You know, do you see the tactics of the Black Lives Matter activists when they stormed the Bernie Sanders stage? You know, I'm not saying that we're going to do that and be disruptive necessarily, but what I am saying is that, you know, the unconventional tactics must be applied. And desperate times call for desperate measures. So I think that libertarians, we got to get off our butts and take a page out of our enemy's playbook. You know, the Fabian socialists, they have no problem working for generational change. And I'm giving a speech at Liberty Fest in New York here in a couple of weeks that's going to talk about the strategies of the socialists, the on-the-ground tactics. And these are tactics that are employed by some of my favorite masters. Bruce Lee, Saul Alinsky, George Washington, Quintus Fabius Maximus, of whom the word Fabian and Fabian society comes from, a Fabian socialist. And so we have to learn, and classic Sun Tzu, Art of War. And so I'm going to be teaching, sort of a master class on these tactics, and then applying those tactics in my campaign, because you know, George Washington defeated the greatest army in the world with a ragbag, band of American regulars along with some mercenaries, some American militia members. And they did that by not fighting the enemy head on in the field. You know, he never won those big battles, but he won the small battles, and he won the battles that he could win, and he engaged in a little cloak and dagger. There's that famous crossing the Delaware. You know, that was a sneak attack on Christmas Eve, you know, to go and kill some Hessians. You know, we need the Liberty Movement needs a crossing of the Delaware. You know, and we got to go kill some Hessians.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in the figurative sense. Now, the next question I
had...
had... Yeah. Now, the next question I had for you was, look, I understand from listening to you before, this was not a plan of yours to run for president. That's years into the making. It sounds like it was one that was, you know, more of like, you know what, man, you know what, we should do that. Like it was an idea that came to you and that you decided it. So you weren't kind of setting yourself up for the run for president. But with that being said, it also meant that when you put things out there and you engaged in either debate with other people or you engaged in, you know, just in conversation with people or in debate with people, you probably have said some things that looking back, you're like, wow, that probably wasn't very presidential. What do you, and you know, you are probably one of the people here that I think is, God, I don't even want to say it in a bad way because people kind of view me the same way, is that people either really like you or people really hate you. It's one of the two. Like, you don't have a lot of, that Austin guy, he's all right. It's like, I like Austin Petersen or I hate Austin Petersen. Like, it's a very weird mix, which I totally, trust me, if anybody can relate to you, I can relate to you on this one. And I personally said some things that are pretty, you know, that are probably things that I look back and go, I probably shouldn't have said that. For your detractors and the people that will bring those things up in this debate, do you have a response for something like that?
Yeah, how do you think Donald Trump is winning? You know, you either love Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump. But you don't forget Donald Trump. You know who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is the king. Donald Trump is number one. All right, and that's the attitude that America wants right now. They want a winner. Now, let me ask you. I had a conversation with somebody last night. I was schmoozing a delegate, and he said, you know, he's like, you know, oh, you know, you're gonna make, you know, these people are gonna like make a trade. You should be nice to them, and da 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 da. I'm like, these people have waged bloody war on me. And let me ask you something. Now, I'm running for president of the United States. Do you want somebody who's going to be browbeaten and cowed into submission by a delegate from the Libertarian Party, and then I have to go and go toe-to-toe with Vladimir Putin? No. The reason why I should be president of the United States is because I've got the guts, not only to stand up to the big government socialists and the statists, but to the tyrannical authoritarians in our own ranks, or the would-be tyrants in our own ranks. And so, yeah, maybe I've said some stuff that people are going to hold over my head, but they're only going to do it because they just want to screw me anyway, Alex. So why am I worrying about trying to convert the people who are already going to be throwing marbles under my feet? That's not how you win an election. You find the people who don't know who you are, and the people and the people who are on the fence, and you bring on the charm offensive. Now, reasonable, rational people who meet me in real life love me. They like me because I'm charming and I'm nice and I'm kind and I'm earnest and sincere. And online, people who see me throwing out challenges and debates, they're going to think that I'm a jerk because, one, I'm getting a lot of attention for what I'm doing, which makes a lot of people very angry and jealous. And there are a lot of people in this movement out that don't want to see libertarianism get popular. You know why? It's that hipster mindset. Because if it's not cool if everybody likes it. And so it's going to be a fight, Alex. There are going to be people who are going to oppose me. And there will be some people that are former haters that I'll be able to win over. But in order for me to win this, I'm going to have to bring in, overwhelming force in terms of the number of delegates. And that is how I'm going to win the day, because the Austin Petersen hater constituency, some of those people, their minds just aren't going to be changed because I don't agree to their one little tiny philosophical, mecca. I don't bow to their God, and I don't bow to anyone's God. Capitalism is my God.
Yeah, no, I got you.
I'm just kidding, but I just think it's like Thoreau. Let us see who is the strongest. I will breathe of my own accord. I'm not running to be town council here. I'm running to be a strong president. And I've got to make tough decisions. So if you want to send somebody out there who's going to be a little weenie, yeah, please send someone else. Send some old man who doesn't have the guts to stand up to his own people when they're wrong and say, listen, this isn't going to work. We've got to have a better plan, a better way forward. If you want a good, strong libertarian leader, elect me. If you want somebody weak and old who will do whatever you say and bow to the philosophical circle jerk, well, that's on me.
Now that does bring up another point, by the way, and that is I think that you put out an article that was discussing the NAP, and in that, which again, look, I'm on the fence when it comes. I'm undecided when it comes to who I'm going to vote at this point, because I'm not. I like Gary, but I actually like the fact that Austin's in there, and I think you ought to find out who's actually going to run the best campaign and do it. But in one area that we actually have an agreement, I do think it's within the NAP, where I find it to be just way too kind of out there, and it's not really, personally, the way I feel about it is it's not well defined, so I have a problem with it. And I think that you're also a person that has taken umbrage. Is that the right word, Greg, by the way? Is umbrage the right word? Okay. Taken umbrage with the NAP. Can you explain your position on that, just so people know?
Yeah. The non-aggression principle is useless without a sense of justice, because who gets to define aggression? The non-aggression principle works if you are a single person on an island. It doesn't work in a society where people commit crimes and where aggression is hazily defined. So if I go and reach for a gun, you might see that as an act of aggression, and you might shoot me. Well, what happens? You have to go and appear in front of a jury of your peers. And libertarians sometimes, because we're such hardcore individualists, we like to think that, we can act and do what we want in the bubble. But no, you have to have a developed sense of justice and understand that if you commit aggression, then there is going to be retaliation. And who is going to be the judge of what the retaliation should be? And that's why you need a justice system in order to judge whether or not someone else's behavior could be technically considered aggression, and then to judge what the response to that should be. I think that the non-aggression principle is an attempt to dumb down libertarianism and to provide a simple philosophical framework for very complex problems. The NAP adherents also like to try and apply that to foreign policy, which is absolutely outrageous. And I think that is the reason why the American people do not trust us with office. I think that it is one of the primary reasons that we do not get elected is because the American people do not trust their security to libertarians, because we think that if we just sit back and it all gets sorted out, and that if we just lay down our arms, then our enemies will do the same. It's utopian, and it's not libertarian. It's pacifist, really. You can be a pacifist and be a libertarian. That's fine. but we don't all have to commit suicide just because you want to, right? And to me, the non-aggression principle is a suicide pact. It's because you cannot define aggression. Well, or they may be rattling the sabers. We don't know if they have a weapon because we've turned in all of our weapons and we've given up all of our intelligence capabilities. No, if another country, listen, every country in the world is spying on the United States. We have a right to spy on all of those countries that are spying on us. If you believe in the non-aggression principle, then you believe in a spying apparatus. And most libertarians, we say, oh, spy, CIA, NSA, blah, blah, blah. They're going to go, oh, no, let's shut them down, abolish them, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then how do we retaliate against the aggression that is being committed? Do you know how many times China attacks us, uses cyber attacks against the United States? They're attacking our infrastructure. Think about it. You drive on the roads. Who will build these roads? The bridges that you drive on every day are controlled by computers, right? The traffic is monitored. Those computers are under attack from foreign governments, okay? So the NAP is being violated everywhere, every day, all the time. What's the correct response? Nuke them, right? Just blow it up. No. You have to have a sophisticated, nuanced position of defense, right? I'm a martial artist, a 10-year martial artist. I've never been in a fight in my entire life, but that's because I understand diplomacy and I know how to de-escalate conflict, and that's really what's important, is knowing how to de-escalate conflict properly without disarming. And I think that the NAP literally and philosophically is disarming. And I will not lay down my arms. I refuse. Molten Log, come and take it. I will stand strong for self-defense and for the right of individuals to keep and bear arms, and for our nation state, the United States of America, to defend our interests and our people, because I'm not an anarchist. I am a constitutional minarchist in the school of thought of the tradition of Robert Nozick, and I defend these principles because I think they're well-defined. And quite frankly, if people want me to back away from these positions just to win, a presidential primary race, it's not worth it to me. My integrity is worth much more, and the ideas are what is important, and I will champion these ideas no matter what.
Nice. Okay. No, that's Was there anything else? And again, tell it like it is. Look, again, one of these things is you got to put out where you're at on the issues and let it rise and fall as it is.
It's no wonder he's so popular among the ANCAPs.
You're right. Yeah. Honestly, collective heads explode at certain points when people talk on the air. Look, but those people don't listen to this show anymore anyway. We blow their heads a long time ago. So
right.
Because it's just funny talking to you because, like, I understand the frustration, and I've said some similar things when it comes to some of these issues, and I know the pushback and have seen the pushback you get, and just some days I'm like, well, just thank God it's not me today. Like, I don't even want to deal with that today. But and I just want to make sure that I get this plug in, though. The website, Austin's website is Austin Petersen, and that's AUSTIN Petersen, PETERSEN 2016.com. So it's Austin Petersen 2016.com. We are running up on the top of the hour. Was there anything that you wanted to bring up or make sure that you discussed as far as your campaign goes?
Sure, yeah. My first national television appearance will be tonight. So if you are on the East Coast, it's 8 p.m., and on Central Time, it's on 7 p.m. But I'll be on the John Stossel show tonight and talk about the campaign fairly briefly. But I am at the very top of the show, so if you tune in to John Stossel, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, you can see me chatting with Stossel a little bit about my campaign. And please, if you are a supporter, then I'll even accept money from ANCAPs. I won't give it back. So if you want to donate money to me because you think I've got big hairy, then you can do that. And we don't always have to agree 100% of the time to think that somebody else is doing a good job. Jeffrey Tucker is an anarcho-capitalist, and he and I are great friends, and we work together. So don't take these minor differences that we have on a very obscure philosophical question and say, oh, well, this guy is not worthy of support, because I think that I've demonstrated that, and I hope people will support my campaign, because it's not going to be like anything you've ever seen. And, everything that I've had, that I've been given, every opportunity that I've been given by the Liberty Movement, I think that I've shown that I can do great things with it. So I hope that people will support my campaign, and that we'll all be able to do great things together. So thanks very much for having me on the show, guys.
Oh no, my pleasure. And if I will say this, if anything, because we were looking at all the candidates for president in the LP, and we're trying to focus a lot of our effort locally and on local candidates and things like that. But your entrance made it to where people are paying attention to this race now, which is something that I guess there's no denying that part of it for sure, because it looked like it was a boat race with Gary, and now it doesn't look like a boat race no more. And it looks like there's somebody else that's actually going to try to challenge him. To be honest with you, and the other person that can actually get on TV, you know what I mean? That's not public access. So I think that part is actually kind of worth it at that point, just to be able to see it and look and bringing something different to the table. So I think it's good. So I really do appreciate you coming on and answering the questions and telling us what's going on. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Very interesting, man.